Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long was 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long was 1975.
Hey YouTube, Long Post 1975, and it's been a while since I've done one of these. Let's have a look at the A500 Mini, a tech overview, if you will, for I finally got my hands on one of these, I should say. I pre-ordered it last August. It kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Literally came out of nowhere. There was a huge buzz and excitement for it when it was released. Obviously, it's the A500 Mini, and it's made by Retro Games, the people who previously made the the C64 Mini, because they don't have rights to the name Commodore, and apparently in this case they don't have the rights to the name Amiga as well. They also made the C64 Maxi. I own a C64 Mini, which is why I pre-ordered this straight away. I think I paid £119. I think it's £114 now, because I know I got a £5 rebate from Amazon, and for once Amazon actually managed to find my bloody house. But the reason I pre-ordered it was the C64 Mini, not out of the box, another Mini with, 20 or whatever number of games it was on it. Obviously Minis are still going strong and still a big deal, thanks to the NES Mini way back in, I was going to say 1987, way back in 2017. But what, piqued my interest and curiosity about this was, if the C64 Mini, after a firmware update, would allow you to load your own games, then surely at some point this would also allow the same thing. But, and I don't know if this was advertised from launch, but only when I saw people review the review units they were sent, that it has this WHD load your own WHDL based games via USB. Now here's the thing, I know very little about Amiga emulation, so there's going to be a whole bunch of errors in here when I talk about it, particularly when I try out the machine itself, and get into the interface and play around with the settings. I openly admit I know nothing about it. My brother had an Amiga, I've talked about this many times, when I had my import Mega Drive. He had an Atari ST first, and then he had an Amiga, so I had access to it. But back in the day, excuse me, talking about nostalgic memories gives me a gacky throat. I just get him to load it all and stuff like that, discs and things. They weren't my bag, baby. And then I just play it. And there were games I absolutely loved and adored on the Amiga. But going back before then, because I have done some gameplays of games, but it's none of the ones on this. I wanted to stay away from the games on it. I wanted to stay away from the interface, the settings and stuff like that. So when I finally got around to doing this video, it was all, brand new to me. I had a little play around just to familiarize myself with, what plugged into what socket and stuff like that. And so yeah, there are gameplays of this, and they are all based around this functionality. So back in the day, excuse me, in one of these gameplays I talk about that the Amiga and the Atari ST, they were like the first proper big 16-bit home systems. I know that processor has been used in many things before at this point, but these were the big machines that looked great, far from arcade perfect. But you got to remember, when they start popping up on adverts in magazines for games, because games would advertise screenshots from various formats and stuff like that, and we'd all been used to the 8-bit micros. This was, and the 8-bit consoles, so this was a big deal. These things looked absolutely fantastic, but they were expensive. They were very expensive. Was the Amiga A500 about £500? I've said it before, and I've said it again. In my household, if you wanted a really big present, you had to pay for at least half of it yourself, and hope you try and get a second-hand one. But I digress. So I do have a massive amount of nostalgia for the Amiga A500. Also, the games, certain games on it are the stuff of legend. I've played both of these very recent, Batman the movie and Robocop the arcade port by Ocean. They are just games that when you mention the Amiga A500, people more often than not will mention those games. Now, my ability to emulate the Amiga A500 has been very basic. I know there's going to be a bunch of people who just go, why would you buy this? Why would you buy this? Why don't you just buy a Raspberry Pi, which happens every time there's an emulation box release, because that's what this is. I don't even know what's in it. I have heard that apparently it's pretty powerful and pretty grunty. Is it Pi based, Pi similar? I honestly don't know. But these things aren't aimed at people who could build Pis, people who could, you know, build emulation devices, hack consoles and stuff like that. These are kind of, they're nostalgia treats. They're for someone who had the Amiga when they were a kid and may not even have a computer now, but just wants to relive it. And the 25 or so games on it are more than enough. They have no interest in adding more games. So, you know, they're irrelevant. And also for people like me who simply can't be asked with a Pi, I have a Pi, but yeah, these are a godsend, especially when you can add your own stuff out of the box, or even if you have to hack them. Obviously, I have a NES Mini, a SNES Mini, a Mega Drive Mini. I have two PC Engine Minis. I have the Neo Geo Mini. I have the Astro City Mini. I love these things. These are my bread and butter. But because of my nostalgia attached to this, I had to get it. So, yeah, I have an OG Xbox with CoinOps 8 on, which is sadly, the CoinOps 8 side is sadly deceased on it. But that had a whole bunch of Amiga games built in, but I couldn't add any more. And I have a Kinhank GP430, which is an amazing little handheld. I've got a review of it and I've done a bunch of gameplays on it, and that played Amiga, but it wasn't perfect because you had to plug it into the TV as a handheld unit. So I was all over this. So that out of the way, let's have a quick look at the box. It's really, really nice, firm cardboard. I like this a lot. It really pisses me off when people release flimsy ass cardboard. Looking at you, PC Engine, looking at you. On the back it says 25 classic Amiga games included, and then it has Another World, Zool, Worms, Pinball Dreams, Simon the Sorcerer, Sentinel, Alien Breed, F-16. Can't read that, but basically I'm not going to go through all of them. I mean, I think you know what it is, and I think for the majority of these games we don't really care. Obviously it was a cost of licensing and things like that, and there are some absolute bangers in here, such as Alien Breed and Stunt Car Racer, but there are clear omissions of stuff that you would want to have in this that best reflect the hardware and what everyone was batshit crazy for at the time. But then you could argue two things: one, that's a cost of licensing, and two, it's obsolete by this. So let's have a look at what else is on it. So obviously it says, you know, oh, Another World, which is obviously this. It says, you know, your WHD load on the side of the box. Features: save and resume game functionality, via USB, add your own games, update the firmware and connect your own devices. 720 HD via HDMI. Does HD 720 even count as HD now? Because I'm pretty sure YouTube don't count it as HD. The A5 contents, the A500 Mini, 2-button USB mouse plus what? Ooh. Nope, can't read that, it's foreign language. 8-button USB gamepad. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? That's an interesting power cable, no power brick, but that's still a poor shit. I would have liked an A500 branded brick, but we got those coming out the ass, and an HDMI cable. But we didn't know, you know, like, well, back in the day there was no official pad for the Amiga, one made by them themselves. So obviously quickly the A500 Mini, because they can't use Commodore and they can't use Amiga. So what they've done is they've made a little icon out of the really famous bouncing animated ball demo that was shown at Original Computer Show, you know, when they were bigging up for the launch, or possibly the launch of the Amiga. So I do kind of like that they've gone with their own logo. Obviously a bunch of game characters, your mouse, your joypad, your non-functioning keyboard, your non-functioning keyboard logo. It is a very nice box. But yeah, there was no official pad, so they've obviously gone for, because it kind of is but kind of isn't, the pad in the colour of the Amiga, or A500 Mini I should say, that came with the CD32. Now I believe this won't just run, which makes sense because where is it? Alien Breed 3D is one of the games on here. Wasn't that 1200 game? I don't know. My knowledge of the Amiga is extremely limited, so by all means correct me. But this will run, apparently has the ability to run, I should say, 1200 games. So that's really, and that means obviously all the variants of the A500 obviously also included in that functionality. So that's kind of cool. Let's open the box. I never got a box with my C64 Mini, as I bought it second hand. So I don't know, oh I like that. I don't know, you know, how these things come packaged, but that is very nice. We'll take the plastic cover off. I do like and there is the machine itself. It is a thing of beauty. I'll probably mention it a few times in this video. Its accuracy is fantastic. Non-working floppy drive, power, HD out, full-size HD out, 3 USB cables. You've even got the vents on the bottom, which you know, they're just aesthetics, where they would have been on the original system. A500 Mini and its own logo, not the Commodore 60 or Commodore logo, I should say. There is weight to it, and it does feel quite sturdy and really rather nice, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, apparently, I heard in a podcast, because this runs LGA files, which apparently everyone is a bit butthurt about. There's a whole bunch of other files, obviously, that you can run on actual, you know, on your actual Amiga. I have an actual Amiga. In fact, I'm going to show you my actual Amiga, and I'm going to do what everyone has to do. It's a cliche, I know, size comparison. There is my actual Amiga A500. As you can see, it's seen better days and could use a little love. Specifically, retro bright loving. But it does work. I have used it, as I've mentioned in this video. It's the size that is the drawback with these things. But cliche or not, we have to do this. And there is my A500 Mini. Obviously it was going to be a lot smaller. If you wanted to keep it somewhat scale with the machine, like they did with the C64 Mini and the original Commodore 64 bread bin, then that would have made this Mini in itself absolutely massive. But it does let us show you a couple of cool things, bits they had to leave out because of the rights and licensing. Obviously Commodore here, we don't have that. And obviously Amiga here, we have A500. But other than that, it's pretty much, albeit smaller, a one-to-one exact representation of. So obviously you can get, is it a GoTech and stuff like that for your original Amiga, and you can run games off SD cards. You know, there's stuff like that where other file formats are obviously supported, such as a Raspberry Pi. But this only supports one, but they have said that this is literally a work in process. This is day one out of the box, and they will be working on functionality to get other file formats working, which is really cool. I hope they do, because there are some issues that I will show you in the next section of the video that I hope to God they can you know, iron out the creases as well. So I really like that. I really do like that. Now, here's a pet peeve, a small one, I know, but you get a user guide, not a manual, which is literally 2 pages that just shows you how to set it up and what your control pad does. Because here's an interesting thing, your control pad's got that many buttons, and you'll see why, at least with the games that it's included in here. But obviously you never had that much functionality on joysticks and pads back in the day with the Amiga, because, you know, it wasn't an actual console. All the review units that were sent out, people were sent an actual proper thick manual like that with rings down the back, like an old school, like the old school Spectrum manual. You don't get that. You can go to the website and you can read it, or you can download it and you can print it. But they were review units, and I find that just a little bit misleading, because obviously we were obviously expecting to get that in our boxes as well. So you've made, you know, more effort for the review units to create buzz, basically, than what you intended to deliver in the actual box. Small peeve, I know, but it's still misleading. Also, and I wasn't expecting this, it's just an interesting thing. They sent, from all the ones I saw people review, I think the first one I saw was Metal Jesus Rocks. The best one you should watch, he didn't get a review unit, he got a normal unit like me. Go and watch Tutti UK's video, it's fantastic. Thoroughly recommend it, because he knows more about Amiga, GUF files and things like that than I do. But they included a memory stick. Now, the legality of ROMs is and has always been a grey issue, whether it's a case of, you know, for review purposes and things like that, as long as you, I never understood how they would police this, you delete them after 24 hours, etc, or if you own the own game. But to send a unit out with them in, I don't know, I just thought that was a bit of an issue, a grey area, something you shouldn't do. Again, by all means correct me if I'm wrong. Once we take the the cardboard tray, gotta save the planet, you get 2 boxes. I wonder what could be in them. You get tank, mouse box, control pad. Let's have a look at the mouse. Again, I never had an Amiga, my brother did, but the mouse is iconic. It comes in a bag, that just came out and got stuck in the box. That's iconic. It's smaller than it should actually be. Does feel very nice and clicky, and obviously it's optical. I saw someone say, why didn't they just put a ball in it for, you know, like accuracy and old time's sake and stuff like that. You know, nostalgia. Really? You really want to use a ball mouse? Anyway, so yeah, kind of cool, kind of cool. So obviously it does have mouse functionality, and then we have a HDMI cable. I've got plenty of those, but what I do like the fact is they've kept the colour in line with the peripherals. So here's what everyone wants to see, isn't it? Let's have a look at what the gamepad looks like. There is your it's USB-C, again in colour with the actual unit itself, and here is our gamepad. Now, I was never a massive fan of the upside down boomerang looking CD32 pad, and obviously this is an accurate colour to that, but yeah, so 8 buttons, obviously, because you've got your home and your menu button. I always want to say start and select because that's obviously, you know, the normality of these things. Shoulder buttons, D-pad. It feels alright. Doesn't feel absolutely amazing, but it feels alright. But it certainly doesn't feel as well made as the Mega Drive pad. It's solid enough. It's not like, you know, your cheap Chinese knockoff tat or any of that, you know, gubbins, but not a massive fan of it. And to be perfectly honest, since I found out that my retro bit pad, I know that's pointless for the purpose of this video because it's an overview and stuff like that, but man, I absolutely love my retro bit pad, which is currently in the other room connected to my Mega Drive Mini. It's console of choice, if you will. Yeah, I'm just going to use that, but I've heard people say it's adequate, it gets the job done. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video at some point, you know, especially if there's a firmware update. Maybe I'll talk about, you know, what this is like to play, but I just have no interest in it. I know that sounds a bit harsh, but you know, there you go. So there we go. I'm going to take this into the other room. I have plugged it into my TV before, obviously, to find out that my retro bit pad, hardwired pad, works, and to work out a brief way around, you know, the settings and stuff like that. So when I jump in here, start playing around properly, and this will be pretty much the first time I've tried the actual games on it. You know, it's out of the box, if you will, despite the fact that I've been hanging on to this for a week. So let's jump into the other room and let's have a play around 20 minutes or so on this and see what it's like, how, you know, easy it is to use, you know, have a quick look at loading games and stuff like that. And then we'll come back and round up as to whether or not it's worth buying one of these. So here we are, I'm powering this up as if it just came out of the box. So we got a lovely screen there, the logo and the A500 Mini, because we can't say Amiga and we can't say Commodore. So obviously you select your language, you press A, and then B is next, and then enable 50 Hz, enable 60 Hz. Now it actually says in the manual, you know, that thing that you don't get, unless you want to scan a code and, you know, or go to their website and read it digitally. The thing that you only get if you got a review unit, it does say in there that since the majority of games made for this come from Europe, and they were optimized for 50 Hz TVs, pow. So this is what you want to set as your default. I'm assuming that if you find specific games from North America, you know, NTSC games that were developed and only came out in North America, then you would go with 60 Hz output. But I'm going to go with the manual. Press A and then you press Run TV X, Run TV Test. So it reboots, and I guess it's seeing if your machine can handle it. So you see television test will end in 12 seconds. Press X to keep setting, which we will do because my TV can run it. Now we come to a carousel. This is the, you know, the meat and veg, if you will, of where you select shit. So it's got a carousel, and it's, you know, it's alright. It's somewhat similar-ish to the C64 Mini, although I would argue that looks a lot cleaner than this, and it's not to do with, obviously, it's better graphics on here. It's just, it's a cleaner, more intuitive display. Not a massive fan of this, and also, I know this might sound a bit harsh, but there is some cool stuff in here that it does better. Like jumping between games when you change settings that will affect it, such as displays and stuff like that, is better in here than it is on the PC Engine, Mega Drive Mini, NES Mini, SNES Mini. But those title screens, those game selection screens, two of them are obviously done by M2, PC Engine and Mega Drive, they look fantastic. They look absolutely fantastic. This is just a little underwhelming, and meh. But hey, it gets the job done. So anyway, all our games left and right, we can select them. You can also then press... Alright, so if you press was it X, you rate the game on how much you like it, and therefore that will become in favorites. Because if you press Y, I don't know, I'm not actually using my pad for it. I have used it, it's absolutely fine, but yeah. So genre, year, publisher, favourite, title. So favourites, I'm guessing, is if you add, I don't know, that seems kind of odd to me. But anyway, so top right hand corner, you either get the box art or some graphics from in the game. Top left hand corner, or top left hand side of the screen, because it's not really so much the corner, you get a description of the game. Beneath that, but above the you know, the box art in the carousel, you get a control pad and a person. The control pad means you can play it with a pad. If you can play it with a mouse, then a mouse will appear there. And the person means it's one player. So if we go to Alien Breed, special edition 92. I wonder when that was made. You got a pad, so it's pad only, and 2 players. And then so obviously forward, thus, etc, 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 and you can see it. But look, there you go. So you can play that battle chess again. You would Coco. It's a chess game with a mouse, and obviously so forth and so on. You can see all this stuff. Now, if we press down, this is your save states, but that only becomes available for you to access or save and to allocate a game to one of those save states. There are obviously 4 once you're in the game. So that's my memory stick. That's plugged in there. This is about the games that are on there, but I'm going to show you some stuff on the memory stick to show you a couple of interesting things, which we'll kind of get into one of them now. If you press up, it shows you the pad mappings for that specific game. So obviously, to optimize this as a plug and play, you know, machine and make it extremely accessible for everyone, more attention is being made to what is on it when it comes to how easy it is to play, i.e. they've allocated stuff to every button on the pad if appropriate, you know, if it has that many options, which obviously wasn't a thing back in the day, because you would have a 1-button joystick, at best a 2-button pad. When you go into your own games, simply you have 1, at best 2 different, you know, button allocations, which to most cases works fine. But obviously, because they've made this like a plug and play and want it to be, you know, accessible and fun for everyone who's bought it, because not everyone's going to buy this to add games, are they? You can see that they've obviously done that. And what I'm trying to make out the point here is, don't expect that level of, you know, functionality from your controls in the games that you do. I've heard, I think Metal Jesus said that you can allocate it. I don't know where that option is, but there you go. So yeah, but we're going to have a look at a couple of games, only a couple of games. I've not actually played any of these. I've looked at them, I've not played them, because when I looked at them, that's when I noticed the thing I want to talk about display next. But we'll have a quick look at that a moment, which is menu, display options, right. Screen fit, it seems to go to that on mine as default, and then moderate zoom, and then fixed size. I don't know what, that's the smallest one, but if we go to fixed size, enable CRT effect, nope, because I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, I know, system options, there you go, mouse sensitivity, music, volume, power, LED, right, where? No, because some of the games in this, when you go into when you fire them up, you go straight into them, the music just blows your fucking tits off, honestly, right, and then language, we've obviously selected that, advanced options, television settings, there we go, we've already done that as default, legal notices, don't really care. Oh, there's an interesting one in here, sorry, hang on. Expert mode, not Scooby what this does. I've got to put it back to default there. So yeah, that's obviously off your select button, and then so we'll come back and then we'll have a look at zoom. Right, so we're on the fixed size. See, I turned the volume down. Jesus. Anyway, everyone loves a little bit of Euro platforming action, don't they? Push fire to start. Oh no, but anyway, that you know, highlights the point I was trying to make. So that game in the top right hand corner, that means that that is the game we have selected. If we select another game, that will appear there. But now that we are within a game, if we press down, we can allocate a save slot. So there you go, that's our save slot. Press start, and oh, hang on, we're back into the game. I think that's because we've got a save slot. Right, so anyway, it's in the middle of the screen, okay? Whatever floats your boat. I personally want to make it, you know, fit the whole screen, but it doesn't every game. But brace yourself, I don't know. All I know is it's really nice graphics. When you play this, it feels like you're getting tooth decay. So Chubba Chops. Oh shit. So yeah, it's a Euro platformer. So be prepared. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I never played it back in the day. Be prepared to have to collect a lot of shit. Right. So anyway. Oh, now in a game. Oh. If you press select, you get your virtual keyboard on the side of the screen, which means this will give you access to the full keyboard options in, well, virtual form. This is how it worked on the C64 Mini. It says you can plug a keyboard in and it should work fine, but I haven't got one it recognises. I had this problem with the C64. I've seen people say it recognises any keyboard. I know mine is a cheapest chips keyboard from a supermarket, but it doesn't recognise it. But the point I want to make out is this menu does not show up in all the games that it does in all the games that are on it, because they're fully optimised, as I said, to be played out of the box. We'll press that. When we press that, I want to change the screen size. So we press that, which means I can't. Certain games, I can't even get them to work. I sit on the title screen because it won't recognise the keyboard. Now, the thing is, this is a work in progress. This is how it comes out of the box, but obviously firmware updates are a thing, and the people have said that they are constantly working on this. I've seen them on podcasts talking about it, and that they're also working on the fact that it's going to be able to, through WHD upload, I hate saying it like that, it sounds like you're talking about a newsagent, that they're going to add other file formats. So people complain that you can only add, was it LGA files? They are working on other stuff, so presumably they will fix it, that you can add the virtual keyboard and any actual physical keyboard into the machine. So it's a bit, you know, unfair of me to be harsh or criticise it at this point, but yeah. So moderate zoom, then we come back, and then we go, oh, hang on, start, and we've resumed it this time. So there we are. So that's moderate zoom. Kind of looks the same to me. Is that because, no, moderate zoom, screen fits. There we go, back, and then start. There you go. So I think that looks quite nice. Right, this looks lovely graphics. It's one of the better lookers on the Amiga. I don't know how good the reviews were. Look at that for a bit of product placement, Chubba Chops. Obviously, I guess they don't care that they're in there still. I guess any, you know, publicity is good publicity. But here's the point I want to make. If you set that setting on these games, not all of them, you know, see, this is obviously not widescreen, so your borders at the side. Sometimes they will go to, let's come back, I'll show you Chaos Engine. I know that does it. Right, where's Chaos Engine? Oh, there we go. Right, this will be full screen. But the point I want to make is, and again, maybe this is an option in there, maybe this is something they will fix. When you load your own games, it's very rare that they go from the full, you know, full top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. I awkwardly phrased that, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to show you some games of what I've got loaded on to kind of highlight that. So right, oh, stuff of legend, this game. Right, World 1, the first level in the beginning, better than Mega Drive, better than the Mega Drive. Right, so have a look. See, it's full screen. Not something I'm normally a fan of, but I've not encountered any issues with any of the games. I've literally just looked at them. I haven't necessarily played them, but touch screen stuff like that. I've not really encountered any issues with the sound or music. And again, if there are on some games, obviously that's something that can be fixed. This seems to be, but I've thrown a lot of games at it myself, and that certainly had no issues with. So this seems to be, you know, pretty much bang on emulation wise. Right, so if we press home and come back, again, I'll show you how you do that. You know, select a save slot and then B and come back. Now I'm going to go to one of, well, we'll have a look at one more game. We'll have a look at legendary stunt car racer. Right, so boom, fire, in we go. Single player league, a multiplayer, a computer link. Right, can you, obviously that's a throwback to what was in the actual game. I had to think, can you actually link your mini Amiga? That would be amazing. Shame none of my mates are going to buy one. Name, right, does that mean if I went, yeah, there you go. So that, see the virtual keyboard works. Back, fire, there we go. goofiest collection of faces ever. Practice. Tracks in Division 1. I remember what a big deal this was when it first came out in magazines. But you know, the internet wasn't around, and all the videos, you know, we didn't get to see it in shops, is what I'm saying, much. So it never really conveyed what it looked like until I saw my brother play it, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty special. Because I never played it on the Spectrum until years later. It's pretty amazing on the Spectrum and the Commodore 64, and I have a comparison video of both of them. Drop on track. Right, so this is optimized, I guess. Right, fire. Turbos. That's right, we don't say turbo, we say turbos because I'm Bristolian. Look at this. Oh, this looks awesome. Yoink. The nostalgia is strong in this one. Kinda. Right, so anyway, back. See the little borders at the side of the screen there. So if we have a look at some of the games that I've got set up here, so go into the stick. If you want to add games, just look it up on YouTube. There's a ton of videos out there, but it's incredibly easy. I will say this: if you go into the system and then go to the, you know, the screen where it tells you, or type in the web address, it tells you to type in to get the WHD upload pack, which is basically what enables it. You go to the site and it says this page is moved. What, really? I mean, you released it and you didn't like keep that bit up to date. But anyway, that's a small pointless thing. But you just download the HD upload pack and you slap it on the root of the card, and then games next to it. You can put them subfolders and stuff like that. But I'm lazy. I can tell you this, that when I play that, that has issues. A little bit of glitching at the start. So anyway, we'll go with Batman the movie, because everybody loves a bit of Batman. You press A to highlight, and then you have to press start to load. So we've got this set to optimum size. Don't press anything on here. I guess this is to do with how the ROM was hacked or copied or whatever, whether it's an Amiibo. I think people have problems with that file format actually, but there you go. So your title screen at least is full screen. I was never a fan of the way they put the bat symbol behind him on that. And then it kicks into the game. Right, so we press fire and then hello. Skip to the end. Right, now look at top of the screen, you know, quite close to the actual, you know, top of the game screen, quite close to the top of the actual physical screen. Bottom, not so much. So let's go back home and then we'll go to display. What I'm trying to say is that when I was talking about the games they've got themselves are properly optimized. You won't necessarily have it looking that good, you know, dependent upon whether you want it full screen or stuff like that. But I certainly want it to be, you know, fully up to the top of the screen and fully down to the bottom of the screen. So we'll go with options, and then so that's screen fit. So let's see what it looks like in fixed size. It's got to be equal, and I haven't got my reading glasses on. Right, so back, but obviously press start and we will resume that game. See, this is what I meant. I do like the fact that you can change the options tiny. Does that mean that this is actually, because obviously these are modern TVs, but that's a one-for-one proper representation of the resolution that it would have been back in the day? I don't know. Tech people, let me know. But yeah, so unlike the other minis, unless I was missing a trick, I like the fact that you can swap on the fly like this. It is really cool. But remember that, okay? Remember that. So obviously, and then we'll have a look. Well, we won't. We'll do this first, display options, and go back, sure, and then we'll go back, sure. It's not a terrible interface. It's very intuitive and it's very simple and easy to use. I guess that's what they were going for. It just does not look as good as, nor is as nice a place to be as the Mega Drive or the PC Engine, you know, sort of, you know, selection screens, you know, hubs, if you will. HUDs, sorry. I'll learn to talk in a minute. Right, but yeah, so I mean that's a small error, and if they went like that way, maybe people would complain again. You know, I've mentioned that, but yeah. So right, let's have a look at another game. Oh, hang on, no, start. We're in there. Right, so virtual keyboard. I'm pressing virtual keyboard. See what I mean? It's not coming up. Anyway, we'll come back out of that. We'll have a look at another game on there. A2 going. Have I still got Star Wars on here? Because there you go. There's a very interesting thing. Select start. Right.
Now, here's the thing. I wish this worked. Again, though, this is as I said, this is a work in progress, so I can't be too critical of it. I'm just trying to be honest and give my honest thoughts. Other people might think this is fucking amazing, and I can accept these limitations and some of these errors and stuff like that. But so we go into the game again. I actually have a USB keyboard plugged into this. Right, we'll press F1 because obviously, if we press pull trigger, pauses. See, that's odd. Anyway, pressing virtual keyboard. Not going to happen, but I think it says press F10 for mouse. Press F10, or was it F1? Press that. Either way, can't start the game. Can't start the game. Again, though, these are things that could very much be fixed, in the next update. So again, but I just wanted to point that out. So if you thought you were going to jump on here and you were going to rip through all the games that you wanted to, that you loved and have back in the day as a kid, not necessarily so. But we'll show you another game, and I want to show you how big the screen is. So we'll go into A, because we press start, we'll go straight back into it. And Road Rash. Let's have a look at Road Rash. I know this. Again, once you've selected it, you can see in the bottom left hand corner it goes yellow, meaning that you have selected it. Press start. I know this makes the screen really rather quite small because I've got an unlisted gameplay of this, or it might be listed by the time you see this. I don't know. So again, does that mean everything that you load to it will not be, and I'm not even saying I want full screen, I just do top to bottom. But there you go, look at that big gap at the bottom. Like, oh, that's a bit loud. That's very, very loud. But the point being, skip to the end. This is the other thing, it jumps about the volume massively between games. But yeah, easier once we're in the game and you can see it. Look at that 90s dude. Isn't it awesome sauce? So, right. Skip to the end. Right. See what I mean? It's the same as Batman. And we can prove that right now. I mean, obviously if you use their actual games themselves, the screen will get smaller and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that lots of these, I don't know, I just want them from... I don't want that awkward, although I've seen people do gameplays on Amiga, maybe it's an emulation thing because I've only got a Kinhank, but I'd rather have, equal gaps at the top and bottom than this whole thing where it's just like, yeah, here's a big fuck off gap at the bottom. But again, more people out there who know more about Amiga emulation might understand why it does that. So anyway, basically, I'm going to round up in a minute, once we're, out of this system. But it's extremely functional, I will say that, and it is nice and intuitive and easy to use, stuff like that. Select all your options, display options probably being the most important. Back, start, back into game, start, back out. It does jump in between very, very quickly, and then down, save state, up. Here's what, but then that's only applicable to the games that are on it, as I mentioned. That's not applicable to whatever you put on it, but it's all right. It's just a little bland. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds a bit harsh, because it delivers everything you want it to deliver. I guess we've just been spoilt with other minis, and to be fair, I think the C64 Mini has a better, selection screen than this one does. But then, taste is subjective. What do I know? Anyway, let's round up.
So, is the A500 Mini worth practicing? I may have come across a little bit harsh in that last section, but the purpose is to kind of, give this a good going over, a good thrashing, if you will, and see if it's for everyone. As I've mentioned, it probably isn't for the Pi Brigade, the hardcore emulation group. They've been emulating these games for years, although I've always understood that the Amiga was a bit fiddly to emulate, and obviously you got people on the actual thing, with Gotex and stuff like that. But the reason, and I own an Amiga, as you saw earlier on, albeit a very brown one, I don't use it very often, it's the size it takes up. Absolutely huge and so impractical when you've already got as many consoles, old systems and minis as me. So the functionality of this is absolutely superb. It's not made for the die-hard emulation people. It's made for people who probably have an attachment to it for, I don't know, maybe for a present from their wife, partner, someone like that. They had an A500 back in the day, and it's a nice bit of of a throwback to that nostalgia. The menu, again, this might be based on what's in this and what's running it. That carousel menu, was a bit bland, but you get all your save states, stuff like that. It looks absolutely fantastic. Like, the image quality is absolutely superb. You know, there were no issues I could find with the graphics. I have had issues, tiny little glitches here and there on games that A, aren't on here, or B, I haven't even tried loading yet, such as Chase HQ has this weird thing going on at the top. But, you know, these are all things you can expect to be ironed out by firmware upgrades, which I'll talk about later on. But yeah, you know, it's a really, really nice, easy plug and play box, and that's the whole purpose of it. What it does extremely well, but could be a lot better. Now, as I mentioned in that previous section, they've mapped the, I put the pad away, they've mapped all the buttons of the pad. So all the games that are on the actual box, all of these games are fully optimized to take advantage of the pad, and as I showed you, to be, you know, to some degree run full screen. I don't mean with side, you know, I mean, like, so there's no, like, you know, widescreen top and bottom borders and stuff like that, because I do want borders at the side to some degree. I don't want fully, I don't want, you know, proper widescreen is what I'm saying. But it's those gaps at the top and bottom. These don't suffer from that, you know, at all, unless you set, you know, the screen to its fixed size, which I don't know for the life of me why you would do, but I'm sure there is a purist out there who absolutely loves that, you know, display setting. So these games look absolutely fantastic. What you load yourself is hit or miss, because you are loading a ROM, and obviously the games you load yourself will have one or two buttons at best. It makes sense that they optimize those, because the large majority of people who buy this won't be playing anything, I know, mind blown to say that, anything else but the ones that are on it. So they've given it a massive amount of control functionality that the original machine never had. You're not going to get that with what you put on yourself. That's something to bear in mind. But that could be fixed, as there's going to be a massive amount of firmware updates, as there was for the C64 Mini. So I was a bit critical, but that clearly could be something that is fixed. But that does also lie into a couple of other problems, which I showed in that previous section, which is, and I'm not the only one who's ran into this. I thought I was, and then I watched a couple of videos and just went, oh good, it's not me missing a button or some optional thing or something like that. I can't get, and I have since tried 4 different branded USB keyboards in this house. It won't recognize any of them. Don't know if I'm doing something wrong there. Don't know if you've got to enable it. I don't think so. I think it just said on the reviews where people mention it, but they never actually tried it themselves, that it's just plug and play. Couldn't get any of the ones I have to work, which will make it a full, you know, functioning Amiga. Although they are going to make, well, it's not going to be a full size one, but they are going to make, like they did with the C64 Maxi, just not going to make it accurately one-to-one, because A, think of the empty space you got in there, and B, the practicality. But if you've got this and you plug a keyboard in, then you've got full, because I've seen people get Workbench running on this as well, and then you've got full potential Amiga functionality, a fully functioning Amiga computer to some degree. So that's kind of cool, but I couldn't get them to work. Absolutely could not get them to work. Also, like the Commodore 64, when you press the button, select, not select, I can't remember, the left button, the face button, that button, it's supposed to bring Virtual Console up, which I showed you in that clip, but that doesn't work on pretty much every single game I have sideloaded. No virtual keyboard, which means from simple things such as putting in your name, on a lot of games you're not even going to be able to start them, such as me with Star Wars, which is a shame because I really want to play Star Wars on this. So and also I had my keyboard plugged in, and that couldn't, you know, get it to start, because you have to press F1 or F10. So what I'm trying to say is, I mean, if you want this to, so you could sideload all your own games and stuff like that, but you can't be asked to go the route of a Raspberry Pi or something like that, bear in mind that you might want to hang on for a few months or so until some firmware dates have come banging out, and so hopefully then you can get a virtual keyboard, because you do on the C64 Mini. I know they're different machines and architecture, but although they're both emulation devices, yeah, every game I've sideloaded on that, you can use the virtual keyboard. Can't on this. None of the games I've sideloaded, you can't. So if you're buying this to upload your own games, sideload your own games, then you need to wait for that functionality, if they're even going to fix it. I assume they are, to be fixed. Also, the same would go for an actual physical hard USB keyboard. So would I recommend it? Personally, for me, it's fine. I mean, I have a genuine level of excitement for this Mini that I have not had for any of my other Minis, even my Mega Drive Mini, and I mean before I bought them, and still do now after I bought this. Genuinely, really excited about this, especially what they can unlock in future firmware updates. So this is a no-brainer for me. I think it's absolutely brilliant out of the box. I can live with those limitations that we have at the moment. If you're buying this simply for an emulation device that you can fill up, buy a hard drive for, and just fill up with every single game you had as a kid, you probably want to hang on until, you know, all the functionality is there. It's a small thing to complain about because you can still get much enjoyment out of it. And if you're someone who just had nostalgia for it, to be perfectly honest, while only I'd say about half of them are banging choices of the games that are included on it, it's still a brilliant machine, especially with how well those games are optimized, both, you know, visually and via the control pad, you know. So yeah, I recommend it all round. Just take it with a pinch of salt right now if this is going to be your emulation device, because it's missing key functionality. I know I keep repeating that, but that's probably the issue I have the biggest deal with, and I'm absolutely fine and over the moon with this. So I personally think 115 quid, 120 quid, your change may vary. This is a brilliant little device, potentially absolutely phenomenal, and that's not even getting into when someone fully unlocks it and we can see what other devices it can emulate. Didn't really want to mention that too much in this video because this is about, you know, A500 games, but yeah, potentially this could be something incredible. So I personally recommend it. Anyway, as always, I'd love to know what you think, especially if you have one of these, you've encountered the problems that I have, or if you found a workaround and it's just me being a numpty twat, or if you plan on buying one, and whether or not this changed your mind. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.